Hey guys, and welcome to the Gaming News January 2020 video. This is a new series I'm starting where I'm just going to talk about general gaming news. It's going to be kind of off the cuff and just kind of me talking about the various happenings that I'm tracking, that I'm noticing, that you might be interested in. We'll cover some Kickstarters launching, some Kickstarters being canceled, some drama, some things happening in the meta around things like Kickstarter and board games and launches and updates and all sorts of stuff. So hopefully you enjoy the video, and if you do, let me know in the comments below, because this is a brand new series that I'm just trying to gauge interest in whether or not you guys like it or not. So be sure to let me know so I can, adjust or continue to do it or not do it if you guys hate it or whatever. Let's get started. Alright, first things first. Before I jump in, I just want to give a quick, huge shout out to my patrons. Without them, a lot of this content, both the quality and quantity, would not be possible. They truly do help me keep independent and productive. Gen Con will be opening up, signing up for badges soon, and I am going to be doing that, so expect interviews, sneak peeks, showcases, all sorts of great stuff around there, plus a meetup where I get to meet up with a lot of you guys and just kind of have a great time with the community. That is literally only possible because of patrons. So if you're looking forward to that, be sure to thank a patron, because they really do make that possible. Now, you guys might remember that Ludus Madness Studio released DEI earlier on Kickstarter and then canceled it, pulled the plug, said that even though it had funded about 200%, they were truly hoping for a lot more. And that's because, spoiler alert, 200% of the fake funding goal was not the real funding goal. It's not that it deserved better, it's that it wasn't feasible. These games are expensive and they cost a lot. So you either create a realistic funding goal, or you lie about the funding goal and then hope you either make up for it, or rob Paul to pay Peter and launch another Kickstarter to fund your last one. And then it just is a vicious cycle like that. Either way, that's why they did it. And hopefully they can hit it, because, I want people to succeed, and I want gamers, especially if it was funded 200%, there was people that were interested in the game. I never looked into it a lot. It looked kind of interesting. I liked the snow theme and all that. But I haven't had great luck with Ludus Madness Studio. They make very overly complex games, and I'd like I'm big on streamlining myself, but either way, that'll be on January 28th, and they are doing a meeple version. Now, this is kind of big, because I'm seeing this more and more, where there's a standee version or a meeple version or some way to bring those costs down, which is quite interesting. It's a weird dynamic, because you still have to pay for all the steel molds. You don't lose that cost. The cost is still there. The only difference is you're printing less of the miniatures, unless the miniatures are an add-on or are even higher price, because you get, obviously, bulk is what increases it. So if you have this upfront steel mold cost, and then you're printing out the miniatures, the more you print out at that high miniature cost of a board game, the easier it is to fund. If less people are getting that because there's a meeple version, I'm wondering how the logistics financially end up there. It is something I'm curious about, because I personally, as a consumer, I like options, so it's great for people who aren't into miniatures or just couldn't get it if it was too expensive or whatever, can get that meeple or the standee version. But otherwise, I think it might be financially wrong of a company to truly offer all the time, because it just seems dangerous to me. It seems a bit of a gamble. Additionally, I actually don't care about a meeple version. I'm much bigger on, if I'm not getting miniatures, I like a standee versus a meeple, just because I think they look better. You got the full art, it matches everything. A meeple is inherently kind of abstract and doesn't always match the rest of the art, with your player board or the game art or the game board or items or whatever. Whereas the standee, you still get a little bit of a 3D effect and whatnot. Anyway, enough of that. January 28th, DEI by Ludus Madness Studio. So if you're interested, be sure to check it out. I'll try and put a link in the description below once that's available. Next up is Wonderlands War by Druid City Games. Now, this was going to be launching on January 28th, but it has now been moved back to February 11th. So, just as an FYI, I'll talk more about that on my February video, obviously. But for now, just know it's been delayed, which means January, which is already an overstuffed month, is going to be a little bit lighter. Next up, I wanted to talk quickly about Car Wars, the 6th edition. I didn't actually cover this. It wasn't really an interest of mine, but it looks like they did quite well. They raised almost $700,000, which I don't know, again, where that is in the realistic funding, but I'm sure that's actually probably pretty good. And the backer kit will be opening soon, so probably, I'm assuming, mid to late February, but that's just a guess. Either way, next month, you should probably be able to late pledge it if you missed it. Okay, so that's some good news. Now for some bad news. There's been some cancellations, there's been some drama, there's been all kinds of craziness. Conan, Beyond the Monolith, was canceled by Monolith. Now, this was a very, very interesting thing to happen. So Monolith is always trying to essentially experiment with live campaign Kickstarters, which I appreciate the effort and I love the will or the concept or the desire, even if the implementation is sometimes a little faulty. So they had a 7-day campaign. They needed $700,000 and they were offering a Legacy Conan where they added a solo and a co-op option and a campaign option. They were offering pledges for people who already had Conan or who didn't have Conan. They had several different faction boxes, and they had the monster boxes you could add on top of that for Mythic Battles Pantheon. And then you could actually get the tiles for Mythic Battles Pantheon, so you could add those into your Mythic Battles Pantheon game if you wanted to add that. And then they also had the Bat Pledge, where if you had Batman Versus mode, you could get the upgrade that. As you can see, this was a huge scope, and I think really that was the downfall. I think it was just too big of a scope and then poor communication. Those two combined just made it just kind of falter. All things considered, it made like 200,000, which is what some other small games are able to do, but because of the scope of this, it was nowhere close to it. They're going to come back with another Kickstarter that's going to focus on the legacy version of Conan, the tried and true adventure mode where you get the campaign and the solo and the co-op and all that kind of stuff. And there might be something around Beyond the Monolith, even if Beyond the Monolith isn't going. So they're not going to do Beyond the Monolith, at least not for now. But what they will do is perhaps include some of that stuff because what Matt John was saying is that they've already done so much work on that they might still reuse some of that. So we'll see what happens there. But they will be doing a smaller Kickstarter for just the Conan stuff. So if you love Conan like I do, I love Conan. It's a fantastic game. I've played more games of Conan than anything else besides perhaps Magic the Gathering in my entire life. So I've played it a ton. So really, really great game. Very much looking forward to it. Trust me, I'll be covering it because I really want to see it succeed. And hopefully, again, with the reduced scope, the laser focus on what people are wanting right now, and then great communication, hopefully I can help with that. I think they'll see nothing but success from that. Changing things up a bit, COMAN actually announced their next Kickstarter finally, and it is, drumroll, Marvel United, a Avengers super chibi style game that we know nothing about. So, I'm more of a DC fan myself. So if this was Justice League, I actually kind of saved money knowing that this is just has like Iron Man and Hulk and that kind of stuff. And it's super chibi. It's not like a little chibi. It's like, a Fisher Price kids toy style chibi. It's very, family friendly version of everything. Like I said, I literally have bought my children Fisher Price toys that look quite similar to a lot of these, because they come in like Marvel stuff now. Like I bet you could go to the toy store and find a little big headed, goofy toy for a 3-year-old Iron Man and be pretty close to what this is. Gameplay wise, I have no idea. We don't know. COMAN doesn't release gameplay information before the campaign. They release miniatures before the campaign. So we're going to see miniatures. We're going to see renders, not miniatures. We're going to see 3D files of what miniatures might look like in the future. And then once the Kickstarter launches, we'll actually know more. They do not share preview links, so I will not be able to do a day one video. They just don't have a policy of working with the community much at all. So your guess is as good as mine. But if you love Marvel, I know most people do, especially more than me. This might be of interest if you also like super duper, chibi. For a little bit of a cooler miniatures game, Ragnarok was probably going to be around June, some Mythic Battles Ragnarok. They were even starting to tease it. You have this really sweet guy and like this bear pelt. And then they had one with like a wolf mask. I freaking love wolves. So I was all about that. So they were already kind of leaking like this is going to happen. This is going to come. And we knew it was going to be this year anyway. However, with the cancellation of Beyond the Monolith, the whole Conan thing that they did, I don't know where that'll go. It might come sooner or it might come later. I just know that they had plans, obviously, as a business. They were looking into the future, and where that lands, how that ends up, I don't know. I'll keep you guys abreast of it. At the moment we know more details, of course, I will have it on this channel. Because I really love Norse mythology and just the design and culture and society, and it's just cool and gritty and violent and awesome, and so really looking forward to that. And Mythic Battles Pantheon, the Greek version, great game. So using them both, why not? Moving back to Conan, they are going to be releasing the 3 big box expansions and the base game of Starcadia Quest in Q1 2020. In fact, in February, next month, in just a couple weeks. Now, you might be thinking, hey, King of Average, the last time they spoke to any of their Kickstarter backers, they said there was a 6 months delay and they haven't said anything in 4 months. So why are they now announcing that they're going to retail? If they had all these boxes, why didn't they send it to us? Well, all I can say is that money speaks, and when you're in retail, it changes your focus to retail versus backers. So, for instance, Chronicle X was delayed by Archon. It was very delayed. And so what they did is they don't have everything ready, but guess what? They're not really going to retail with this. It's just a Kickstarter. And so they had all the core boxes. So what did they do? They shipped everybody the core boxes. There wasn't any plan to have 1 wave, 2 wave shipping, none of that. They had the product. They're like, people want this. Let's get them the core box while we make the other stuff. Command could have done the same thing, right? They've obviously had a plethora of stuff to go retail with this. So they've had all the 3 big box expansions plus the core game, and they're already at game stores or arriving to game stores to be released in February. They could have sent it to us, but they didn't. Instead, they waited and communicated nothing. Now, the very same day after the news broke that they're coming to retail, they quickly wrote up a thing saying, hey, by the way, it's on the ship and it's coming to you guys, and it should be there late February and into March. So you'll be getting your product a little bit later than retail. We're sorry about that. We know we could have sent it earlier. I'm kidding. They didn't apologize. Anyway, poor communication, a really crap experience, and if this was your first Kickstarter, I apologize, they're not always like this. Command just likes to do stupid things sometimes. But we're finally getting it, so expect that on the channel. I'm excited for it. I know I did some chibi stuff, but this is a cooler kind of style chibi. I really dig that. We got laser swords and stuff like that, and not quite so big head mode. Alright, back to the negative. Fantasy Flight Interactive is being shut down with everybody laid off. Okay, so what is Fantasy Flight Interactive? That is their digital platform, the people who had all the software devs and were making the games that release on Steam and stuff like that. So, any of the Fantasy Flight games, either the board games or whole unique digital games, I guess it wasn't being productive for them, or, they don't really give super great detail about this, but for whatever reason, they don't need it anymore. It's not doing the business good, or it's not their focus, and so they're just laying them all off. That sucks. As somebody who was laid off earlier in the year, just blindsided, not performance-based, just kind of a hard, cold business decision. Business decisions suck. They just do. They're soulless. They're all about the numbers. They don't view you as a person. So nobody there is being treated as a person. They're being treated as a resource and a commodity that is being let go, just like you would dismantle a machine. It kind of sucks. Especially because it's, a quick turnaround. My understanding is it's like a month. Which means that there's probably not a whole lot of like job seeking aid or anything like that. I don't know about severances. I don't really care. It just, it's a crappy situation for sure. Ideally you would know that you're going to make this business decision at least a quarter ahead of time. You don't like just knee-jerk reaction, quit your entire initiative in the digital front. And so then you can actually kind of wind down and say, okay, all we're going to do is updates. So we're going to let people go and find other jobs, and whatever skeleton the crew is still here at the end will just kind of be doing final pushes and patches to the games that we own. And then we're going to just kind of slowly shut everything down that way. That's what I would have done, but I'm trying to care about people and not necessarily to save a buck. Speaking of layoffs, Mythic Games UK layoffs. This has been quite the ride. Essentially, kind of because of like the Brexit stuff and then wanting to focus on like the American market. So, well, regardless of the reasoning, the people working for Mythic Games in the UK were let go. And that affected one of the people I worked with a lot, and I know a lot of you knew, as Drummond. He was a fantastic person in his role. He did a great job in it, but his last day was actually December 23rd. It's really kind of a cruddy deal to let somebody go right before Christmas. They joke about the time frame in the year where you can't break up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever, because then it ruins like all the holidays, right? So it's like there's actually an official like calendar day, like this is the last day to break up with somebody, and then you're stuck with them because God forbid you do that to them. But again, that's people interacting with people. Businesses, when they make business decisions, don't care about that. So there is no, oh, don't do it there because you'll ruin every Christmas. It'll just be like, oh, hey, remember how I used to have that job and now I don't? Yeah. So kind of bad. It also didn't help that they then hired Sam Healey and then kind of showed him off like a prize dog in a dog show saying, hey, look, here's our ads replacement. Just kind of it doesn't feel good. Now, I'm not dissing Mythic Games. I get it. They're a business. They got to do business decisions. I understand that you can't always expand, that you can't always hire, that sometimes you have to refocus and do different things. I believe there's a good way to go about that, in a personable level. And so I don't think this matched that. And again, I'm a little close to the subject here because I was, a victim of just a cold hard business decision by some millionaire stakeholder somewhere that wants, higher dividends or whatever. But it just, I don't know. It sucks when we have these, companies that we view as a family, right? We all know Leo. Leo's great. I think Leo's a great guy. I have no problems with Leo. That man could sell me anything. When he gets on the live streams and he's talking about when he was talking about Reichbusters and I was watching that, I thought he was about to pass out. I mean, seriously, the dude loves stuff and he's passionate, and I fully respect that. Okay, I'm not talking bad about, even like Kamala, like I get it. It sucks when us as consumers, we have this view of they're not the company, right? The company is a big company that's, in retail and not privately held, like come on or something like that, or they're on the Chinese stock market. So, screw them. We can make fun of them all we want. But Mythic Games and Monolith and all these other companies, like they're family. They're just run by people, by gamers. And then every now and then they have to do a business decision like that. And it's this kind of hard numbers, fact-based profit mindset business decision. All businesses do it, but it ruins that mentality. And it's what I always kind of worry and what I'll kind of be watching as these companies progress, either as they become bigger or as they have more chances to do these kind of business decisions, on how the perception of the company from our standpoint morphs, right? Because it doesn't hold. It can't hold. So anyway, it's I know it's a complex, situation, but it's also a really crappy situation. And I think it was made a little bit more crappy by how it was planned. I mean, just nobody's last day should be December 23rd. I don't care what you're doing. I don't even care if you're bad at your job. It's just common decency. Anyway, moving on from that, Mythic Games is actually going to be having a Steam Watchers Kickstarter. I did not cover this in my 2020 video because I wasn't positive it was 2020. Leo and I had a chat and he's like, dude, it's coming. It's going to be good. He told me all sorts of stuff. I'm not going to tell you right now, but trust me when I say I'll be covering that heavily because it sounds like a very interesting game. I like the genre that it's in, which I'm still not going to talk about because I don't know how much he wants me to talk about it. But I don't have a lot in that genre, so there's definitely room on my game shelf, especially for one I like, because there's some I've liked and some I haven't in that genre, so really interested in that, but anything that has Steam in it, I'm typically into. And then, oh my gosh, so then like Hell, the Last Saga, that thing is gonna be crazy. The amount of effort they're putting into that, it might be their biggest thing yet. Really interested to see how that turns out. Now, if you follow me on social media, then you will have seen me ogling and just drooling over this new painted limbo miniature, Ylva, Maiden of the Wolves. Mahao's painting studio painted this and is actively winning awards right now. I mean, it's being entered in painting competitions and people are just freaking out about it. Not only did he do an amazing job, props to him, link to his Facebook below, just because I believe that every artist should actually get a shout out. Too often they're the drummer behind in the dark in the band and they don't get the limelight, but he really does. He did a great job. Or she, actually, I don't know if it's a he or she. Whoever they are, they did a fantastic job. But the miniature sculpt, again, Charles Augius does such a fantastic job, and I love wolves. This is a contender for my favorite miniature. If I was to list, if you were to put a gun to my head, or just ask, actually leave the gun behind, just ask, what my top two miniatures are, it's Nua from Dimension Games for their Celestial game, and now this Ylva, Maiden of the Wolves. Fantastic miniature. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I will do whatever it takes to do it because I can guarantee you're going to get a painting video of this one. Really, really pumped for it. And this is actually for their next Kickstarter, which should be launching very soon. I don't have a hard date yet. I'll guys let you know as soon as I can, even if it's just a community post here on YouTube. But they'll be launching their 75mm Kickstarter here very shortly. So looking forward to that. Now, on the same subject, there have been some unboxing videos of Limbo Eternal War because the Chinese market has already gotten theirs, and so some people have actually filmed their unboxings and shown it. I haven't watched any of them. I like to keep kind of a clean slate going into an unboxing, so I'm not just repeating what other people say, even subconsciously. I just want to have my experience as a fresh consumer opening the box, so I haven't watched them. But it's been really hard not to because I'm pumped for this game. The miniatures look great. I think the gameplay design seems very interesting. So I'm looking forward to kind of actually playing the game and reviewing that for you guys too. But man, it's happening and it's real and I'm excited. Okay, we're kind of on the home stretch here for the news. The Kingdom Rush Rift in Time has been delayed until around July or August of 2020. This is thanks to some changes to the Portal Storm system, which is actually based off of playtesting feedback. Apparently, there was it just wasn't too different enough for how they did it. So they changed a few ways on how you generate these portals and what happens around them based off the feedback. And it actually seems pretty cool to me. So I'm all down for it. If I have to wait a little bit longer for a better game, I'm fine because I have the game forever. I only have to wait a couple months. So I'd rather wait a few months to have a game that's better forever than to get a game a few months earlier and have a forever not quite as good. So it just makes sense to me. A more firm date will be provided in about 1.5 months. So probably the next gaming news of February 2020. In that video, I'll have an update for you guys then. Now, I talk a lot about Come On. It's just easy to do. Like I said, they're the corporate entity. They're the guy in the industry, right? They're the people who don't belong on Kickstarter and all that crap, right? And for every one thing they do good, they shoot themselves in the foot for whatever reason. Well, here's one thing they do good. Now, again, they shot themselves in the foot a little bit earlier, but, with Starcadia, but minus the foot shooting, this is good. They have announced that every Friday of this year, there will be a new free downloadable Zombicide scenario. That's cool. That's awesome. So they're going to do them for different ones. So one week it might be Invader, another week it might be Black Plague, another week it might be the modern one, whatever. Either way, they're going to be cycling through all their Zombicides, just making scenarios and making them freely available. Now, it's funny because Monolith has had a huge freaking list of scenarios for all their board games, and even scenario making tools and stuff like that on their website. You could just go there and play 23 different Conan games. So, it's not like they're the only ones or that they're gods among men when it comes to doing this, but props where props are due. This is a fantastic way to support your Kickstarters. Again, I'm all about not just being a one and done deal, but really owning your IP. And if people enjoy your game and want more of it, you should make more of it. It just makes sense. It makes what they bought even more valuable. So anyway, I'm all for it. I think that's awesome. Good for them. Round of applause. They deserve it. And I hope to see more things like this and less shooting feet. There's a small update on Oathsworn. The pledge manager is open until March, so you still got a few months there to get in there. If you haven't yet, you can late pledge it. That's fine. If you want to upgrade it or add an add-on because some finances changed or whatever, or change your address, whatever it is, you still need to pay for shipping. You have until March to do that. They also updated a little bit. So there's a new location damage. If you recall, a lot of people, when they play the game, and if you saw my review of it or anything like that, or saw my details where I kind of explained it, you essentially have these dice that are on different locations of the miniature. And depending on where the miniature is, actually turned and facing, and where you are on the board around the miniature, depends on how you hurt it. And of course, what move you do and stuff like that. It's more complex than you might give credit. But anyway, each piece, let's say you're fighting the Brood Mother, where you can attack her tail, and you can lob her tail off, and when you remove the die, you might get a token, and she's going to react to it too. So she kind of thematically reacts. You might get a boon or a buff or something like that. But that was kind of it. Otherwise, it was fairly abstract. So they kind of changed that a little bit to where, her tail swipe might now require her to have that tail. And so if you lob the tail off, it's either not as good of a strike or it's gone. I don't really know the details, but either way, they've kind of made it a little bit more thematic that way. So you can really want to maybe target that. Maybe you're oh my gosh, she keeps spinning this freaking venom at us and it's freaking gross. I'm attacking her face. It kind of makes sense. No, you're not lobbing your head off though. So, it's still slightly loosey-goosey. I know some people might have a disconnect there, but I think this is a positive direction for it. And, I think it's not bogging the game system down. At least I wouldn't think it would. And finally, Arceus, their PM opened. So again, link in the description below if you want to get a late pledge on that. They have like their legacy style that's reusable, so they can kind of play it multiple times, but it's still fairly legacy. Or you can also just do a dungeon crawler and do that. It has like 3D walls, has great looking miniatures. It's a cool like steampunk ancient Egyptian theme kind of thing going on. Just looks really neat. I'm looking forward to it. Alright guys, my voice is going out. That is a solid 20-ish minutes of gaming news goodness. I hope you've enjoyed that. I obviously have a ton planned, so stay tuned for more next week. I will be having a painting video. My patrons already saw a link to that. And actually, I have a public Patreon post, link in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. You can get a sense of what's coming up on the channel. I try to make some general announcements that are more long form on Patreon. I can respond better there. The YouTube community section, guys, I'm in that multiple times a week. I love talking with you guys. But the notification system in there, it's really crap, especially with replies. And so it's really kind of hard to hold a conversation there. And sometimes I'm interested, like in this one, I'm asking what you guys are interested in. So let me know over there. Let me know here, whatever. You can see kind of some upcoming stuff there, which is, I guess, the bonus there. But either way, guys, thanks so much for watching. I've had a wonderful start of 2020. And if this is a sign of things to come, 2020 is going to be one heck of a ride. So I hope we're all prepared for it, because it's going to be big. Alright guys, thanks so much. Enjoy your weekend. Have a wonderful time. Play a board game. Hug a loved one. Do whatever it is you do. Alright, I'll talk to you guys soon.